Good morning, everybody. My name is Brendan Nodar-Francesco, and today I'll be going over my plan for the relief flights to Spring Point, Bahamas following the hurricane that took place. So our goal is to bring relief aid supplies to those affected by the disaster, and we'll also be transporting some injured people that helped clean up the wreckage. The departure will be from the Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport, which is Kilo Foxtrot X-Ray Echo, and it'll be in a C20B caravan, C208B caravan, and this will be a Part 91 operation. We will not be compensated. And we will arrive in Spring Point, which is Mike Yankee Alpha Papa. So the essential documents that I want to go over. First, as always, the pilot will need a government photo ID. In this case, we'll use the passport since it's international. The pilot cert, medical cert, and the radio operating license. All passengers must have valid passports for international travel as well. The airworthiness certificate, registration, weight and balance, data operating handbook, insurance, radio license, etc. That's all still required. The only difference that I want to make sure I specify here is, first of all, the radio license for the aircraft, but also the tail numbers and letters must be 12 inches tall. The Bahama entry forms, which is General Declaration Custom Clearance forms, those must be completed by both the pilot and passengers prior to departure to the Bahamas. And we must file and receive proof of payment or decal for U.S. Customs. We also need to bring 3 copies of a C-7A cruising permit. We need to file a flight plan to the airport with Customs. So we're going to go to Mikey Yankee November, and we're going to stop there additionally for fuel as well. We also need to file an EAPIS. EAPIS, I have the link there. It just helps with you. It's legally required for foreign travel like this. Then I want to bring our attention to the return leg. We need to pay a passenger departure tax before leaving the Bahamas. We need to file a U.S. Customs declaration form and call U.S. Customs to schedule an arrival reservation. And we also can't forget to file a flight plan and EAPIS on the way back. And lastly, we need a discrete squawk code from approach prior to reaching the ADIZ boundary. This is all from the Banyan pilot shop video provided. The weight and balance for the trip there, we are going to have both the pilot and passengers weighing 195 pounds. 2 of them going to bring us to 390 pounds. The pilot passenger baggage weight is going to be the same weight, so that brings us to 780 pounds total. So first I considered full fuel. That's going to give us about 871 pounds of payload to work with. So we would have 91 pounds left over. However, that's not enough to make a big difference. So what I decided to do was calculate the minimum fuel with 2-hour reserves at 355 pounds per hour based off of our speed and altitude from the PIM. And that's going to bring us to about 1184 pounds, which means if you take the full fuel and subtract that, that means we'll have an extra 1,040 pounds of extra space to bring relief supplies. We can bring water, canned foods, medical supplies, etc. to make a much bigger difference. Our outbound flight plan will be from Foxtrot X-Ray Echo to Mike Yankee Alpha Papa via Mike Yankee November. So on the right there, you see a direct to route. The reason I did direct to there is to illustrate just how far it is. It's about 400 miles, which is not possible for us considering our cargo today. So we'll be stopping at Mike Yankee November in Nassau to refuel, recuperate, rest if we need to, etc. The cruise altitude that I chose was 11,500. I thought it was a suitable altitude for our service ceiling. We'll have plenty of performance. It's a VFR altitude based off of the regulation. And it gives us a little bit of extra leeway above the MEAs and stuff in case we're doing instrument. But it gives us a little bit of extra leeway for emergencies, and we have more room to work with and plan if we have to ditch in the water, etc. The magnetic heading that I chose to Mike Yankee November was 122. That's assuming no winds. And then that's for the first leg. The second leg is from that airport to Mike Yankee Alpha Papa, which is Spring Point. That's going to be a heading of 137. Again, magnetic heading assuming no winds. The cruise speed here is 147 knots. That's based off of the PIM in the document provided. Our time is going to be about 3.2 hours at that speed, and about 355 pounds per hour. That's going to cost us about 189 gallons. So the first leg is going to be 1.33 hours, about 79 gallons. Second leg is going to be 1.87 hours, which is about the remainder there, 110 gallons. We'll be sure to file a ICAO flight plan. Outbound, we need the EAPIS submission as well. And another thing I wanted to bring to our attention on this flight plan is, since it's pre-flight, we can't forget NW Craft, which is brought to us by 14 CFR 91103. So legally, we can't forget NW Craft, weight and balance. And in addition to that, I like to remember traffic pattern, altitudes, and if it's left or right pattern as well. I usually clump those all together. Coming into the Bahamas, we're going to have some unique entry procedures considering it's foreign, and we'll be talking with customs. So we'll have to notify ATC upon arrival. We'll present our passports and custom forms, the general declaration forms, to the Bahamian authorities. As I said, we'll notify ATC. And another thing I wanted to bring to our attention here is that there's no fuel at Spring Point. So we need to make sure that we plan for sufficient fuel. We'll just top off for Spring Point, and then from Spring Point we'll go back to Mike Yankee November, and we'll be able to get the rest of the fuel we need to go back. And considering we'll get rid of all the cargo, the relief, water, canned goods, all that, we'll have extra fuel to comfortably make it back. And it just crossed my mind that potentially we'll need permissions to do some of these operations, so we'll be sure to look into that and get more of those if need be. In-country operations, so we're going to prefer to do VFR if we can, but sometimes weather might not allow for that, but we'll see. Regardless, here's the frequencies for all the airports, the approaches, have them all in one spot so that we're prepared. Interesting thing is Spring Point only has a Unicom, so we'll just have to be willing to work with other pilots there since Tower won't be there to help us. We will coordinate unloading with the local ministry and aid distribution teams there. I know our company is affiliated with groups down there with the local ministry. And another thing I wanted to bring to our attention is that there are minimal services at Spring Point, so we need to be sure that we're self-sufficient. The return flight, we will go back to Mike Yankee November for fuel, then back to where we started. We're going to return with 2 tourists, 1 injured, same weight as before. I'll go over the weight and balance for the return leg on the next slide here. Again, we needed another EAPIS submission, and we're going to land at the airport that we started and follow any custom reentry procedures that are required. On the left is an example of an EAPIS form that needs to be filled out. Here's the weight and balance for the return leg. So we have 585 pounds for the people, and same for the baggage. That's going to be a total of 1170 pounds. Payload with full fuel was 871, which means we'll be 300 pounds overweight roughly. So when we're at Mike Yankee November getting fuel, we need to be sure to drain 50 gallons from full fuel to overcome this 300 pound margin and stay under or in weight, in balance. And if there's any extra supplies that we want to bring, the general rule is about 6 pounds of weight. You have to remove 1 gallon of gas. So to make sure that we are mitigating these risks, we're going to bring some life vests. We could bring a raft as well, and any other emergency gear for those overwater segments, because we won't be within gliding distance at several parts. We need to make sure that we're properly getting fuel at our interim airport. The continuous weather monitoring is critical because they have a lot of bad weather there, and it's post-hurricane, so there's potential for more hurricane-like weather to persist. I'm going to address passenger medical needs with first aid and comm communication, and the alternates that I have listed are Mike Yankee November and Mike Yankee Golf Foxtrot. That gives us some options there. And then pre-flight, I like to bring up I'm Safe, which is illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, emotion, and PAVE. These are both 2 checklists to go over certain risks that a pilot might have with their own health and well-being, just to see if the flight's really worth it. And overall, this is a mission of faith. So while we are helping these people, it's inspired by God's word and his will. So Matthew 25:35 through 40 and Proverbs 19:17 are listed here. They're great examples of why we do what we do. And these are my sources. I thank you all so much for listening.